Okay, my name's Zakashi, guys, and in this video here we are going to be discussing new mechanics that we could see for the festival. Now there are a couple that I have in mind, but I think the big one that's out in the air, and I'll dive more into it once we get into the video, is the fact that we could get a lock gauge. Now we've got these characters that have come into Legends and they've literally taken over the game simply because they have a gauge. We literally got Beast Gohan running the game like there's no tomorrow. So if they could actually implement a gauge that locks gauges, that would be the best thing ever, because it stops all of these powerhouses just walking over all the units. But then I guess we'd have one other powerhouse, but depending on how his kit works, it could make the game a lot more balanced as long as you have him. He doesn't necessarily have to be OP himself or whoever it is. It could just simply be, you know, the character has something effective in, and that thing would be stopping the gauges from working. But yeah, I'm going to get into other mechanics that are also possible for the festival. This is a discussion more than anything else, so don't take it too heavily, but we will dive into some mechanics that we have in the game as well. First, I think that's very important, so we can kind of span on from what we already have to see what else we can expect. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button, man. We are on this grind to 40,000 subscribers. All my social media links are going to be on the bottom of the screen. There's the YouTube channel, we've got Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link all in the description below. So make sure to check me out on all of those. But yeah, man, I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. Let's actually get into the video now. Now, these are all the current gauges that we currently have in the game. I'll give you an example of a character that has it alongside, obviously, what the gauge does. So we have the attack type. We have this one here with Ultra Super Go GR and Beast Gohan. They both work differently, but you can see once it fills, it just recycles and you rework on filling it. It's very effective, more than anyone else's in my opinion. If I was to rank them, I'd put the attack type one first. I'll order them at the end, but let's go through them first. So the sustained damage type, this is kind of like Sword of Hope Trunks or Broly. They actually build their unique gauge from getting hit. So while the character's on the battlefield, every time they use an arts card, this is for this one up here. This one here, while the character's on the battlefield, every time they get hit with an enemy attack, the unique gauge will increase. So that's this one here. You can see the charge type. So I believe we only have two, LF Cell and Kaioken. While this character's on the battlefield, the unique gauge will increase when charging ki. With Cell, it stops once it gets full once, but with Kaioken, you can continuously refill it and you can get benefits out of it. And then the evade type, we have MUI and UI sign. While this character is slide, moving, or standing still, they will consume a certain amount of their unique gauge to activate evade against certain enemy attacks. Depending on the character, evade might act as a counter and do damage to the enemy. So we've seen this with MUI, but obviously this specific part only applies to UI sign, but MUI gets both, of course. But then the last one we have, which we got from Ultra Super Vegito, counter type. During specific actions, the character will consume a certain amount of their unique gauge to activate a counter against some enemy attacks. Depending on the character, this counter may deal damage to the enemy. So we have this one here with Ultra Super Vegito. When he activates a strike against somebody's blast, as long as his gauge has a sufficient amount, he will not take damage and he'd actually apply damage to the enemy, but you can't actually kill from it. These are the only ones we got in the game. Now, I'm going to dive into straight away the lock mechanic because I feel like that makes the most sense. By the way, this is the first time using the new layout for a video, like content-wise. So, hey, tell me what you think about the video, the video layout. I think I like it a lot. I love it, in fact. But yeah, we're going to be looking at these characters' gauges. I need to do this quick because I think the game's going to go into maintenance. If they were to lock, and I'm going to give like a concept for what I think it would be like. I think how it would work similar to a strike attack type gauge, essentially. So you have to work on filling it up, but once it fills, you activate it like a power up, essentially like let's say Beast Gohan. That would be the ideal. So you can use it when you effectively see fit, so that you can stop the enemy from actually gaining advantages. It should be able to be activated from probably 3 arts cards, and that should be the green, the ultimate, or the blue card, maybe even the main ability as well. And then once it's activated, it literally stops the enemy from using their gauge for 10 time accounts. It should be pretty easy to fill, maybe, depending on how many time accounts it lasts, but them not being able to use their gauge obviously stops them from reaping the benefits while they do their combo, especially for attack types. Against sustained damage types, they won't really see the effects of it simply because their gauge only fills when they're taking damage. You could still make it effective though, which is why I'll explain my other way of working about it wouldn't work. But you could still make it effective simply because you pop it, and then when you're attacking them, their gauge is not filling. For example, people that counter like Broly, it'd be really, really useful, who I don't even have. The evade type, they would have no dodging capabilities. The counter type, you're free to use blast arts. It's just be very effective if they can't use their gauge. Really, really effective. But I feel like it's how you trigger it to activate is what would actually make it a deal breaker. So the other way I was going to talk about that I said wouldn't work against the sustained damage type would be if your gauge lock activates once you get hit. So on a condition that's negative towards you, let's say you're standing about and you're fighting Ultra Super Gogeta. If your unique gauge is full and it empties and it locks the enemy gauge once they attack you, then they won't be able to fill their gauge. But then that doesn't include the sustained damage types, because if you're attacking them, you can't lock their gauge on the attack. Do you hear what I'm saying? So it needs to be triggered through an arts card. I feel like that would be the best way. And the timing of when you do it, if you feel like you're going to lose priority, or you feel like maybe you want to gain priority and actually use your arts cards against them for the sustained damage types or the evade type, you know what I'm saying, the counter types, there's two ways to go about it. You need to activate it during a condition. And I think that's what would actually be the deal breaker within the character. I feel like it's a very big discussion because it will change the game massively if gauge locks were just introduced. And also it depends on who the character is, who is the character to get. That's what matters most. And on top of the fact that how many time accounts it would be. Would it be 3 time accounts? Would it be 5 time accounts? Would it be 10 time accounts? How long it matters. All of these are factors, and how it comes into play is very, very important. But one thing I know is for certain, it will change PvP massively, as long as they don't put it in the hands of someone like a Cyberman or like a Super Warrior, Krillin, you know? Like, it needs to be somebody like my camera's selling me. It needs to be a Saiyan. It needs to be a very valuable Saiyan, in my opinion. Maybe a hybrid Saiyan, maybe a regen unit, an antagonist. That would actually be more effective. An antagonist, I'll solid with that. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on the lock gauge. So I had done this poll on the channel quite a while back. I don't know the exact date on it, but if you subscribe to the channel, even if you're not, it might pop up in your homepage as a recommendation. But I do these polls every single day. There's different type of polls, and they're just fun questions that you can just have a discussion about in the comment section, or you can just have your input and see what other people think about. So here I said, do you think that the Dragon Ball Legends Festival 2022 units will be better than all the units we already have? And most people think yes. Less people think no. We got 72% at yes. I think yes as well. They'll be better than anything else that we've already seen. And with that being said, I've had these mechanics. Hopefully it works. Come on, there we go. Let's assume a new mechanic will enter the game for Dragon Ball Legends Festival, and I had these 4 here. So we already spoke about lock gauge, but I feel like these are also topics to touch on, and I feel like they're gonna enter that segment right here, so I can touch on all 3 of these outside of the lock gauge. I feel that lock gauge is the most common and the most likely, simply because we already have all these other gauges that just roam free and just dominate the meta every time a new one drops. But when will there be a return to when there was no gauges, you know? But yeah, let's talk about this now. So cool. Some of these are not very much new. They're just what we have in different ways. So what I want you guys to do as well in the comment section, if you have any creative new mechanics to put out there, leave it in the comment section below, and I might use it for a part 2, actually describing the ideas that you guys gave for the video. So here we have the first one, revival type. Now this is not really a new mechanic, but the way I see it working is that with revival units, none of them have an ultimate art after their revival. But in this case, if we start with, ideally, I'm thinking like the Tag Super Saiyan 4s, the Blue Bros from the Future arc, obviously Goku and Vegeta in any instance, to be honest, if they're a tag unit originally, and usually they fuse as a result of them not being able to defeat their opponent. That's just the standard. So once they get defeated in the game, that would be their revival. They were a tag unit before, so a tag switch unit prior, but after they die, they fuse as their revival, similar to how Revival Gohan becomes the Super Saiyan 2 he is, and then from there they just become a one unit. I think it's very much likely that that would be a fusion unit. Ideally, I think the best one to go for would be LF Gogeta or Vegito Blue from the Future Arc, because in those two instances I think it was the most necessary move to actually defeat their opponent. They could also do a Vegito, but we got Ultra Vegito, so I don't want to talk about that too much. But that's for the revival tag more than anything else. I feel like that's very effective. And it will actually just make an OP unit straight out. They'll have the tag switching, which is already insane. And then after the revival, they get ultimate arts and they're a whole new unit. Like, that's going to be insane. We need a transforming unit. Transforming units, some of them, no, most of them actually do. But a revival unit that actually gets their ultimate arts after. I don't want it to work with like the blue card things. I don't like blue card LFs. I feel like those are bogus and they're weaker against ultimate arts. They can't clash against ultimate arts even though they're the same standard of finisher. So I really just want it to be an LF. I mean, yeah, ultimate arts after the revival. But yeah, that's that. Now, these two I'm going to put together because I feel like they're similar, but they're different as well. So the second one, we're going to talk about Transform ×2, which is the one that blew all of them out the water. So I used pictures that are effective. Obviously, it fits the case. So for the lock gauge, I used Janemba because I feel like he just had Goku in a bind for real. Goku was giving him hands too, but the way he's using his paws and whatnot is very, very effective. But the Transform ×2, I specifically chose Gogeta because in the Broly movie, he obviously came in his base form, he was doing his thing, just messing about, testing Broly's strength. Goku and Vegeta doing Goku and Vegeta things. Then afterwards, he went to Super Saiyan. Now, him going Super Saiyan was completely unnecessary because he could have just beat him off rip in blue. But even as a Super Saiyan, he was going flawless, not getting touched at all, just clashing with him, just testing him out, he's toying with him. And then he went blue afterwards. That was a double transformation. And I feel like a double transformation powering up each time, maybe with a timer count restriction, would actually make the battle very interesting because you don't want Gogeta, for example, to get to that second transformation because he's just going to destroy you. Maybe they should make the second transformation timed. So the first one is permanent. The second one that you activate on your own will is timed. And that would be fine for you. But another thing that I was considering is an auto transformation. So a lot of people really didn't want that. That had the lowest votes next to lock gauge, even though the lock gauge one, we've seen files of it, literally. But the auto transform one tied in with the double transform, I think it would work effectively if a condition is met. So for example, kind of like in Dokkan, to activate, I think it's your active skill, a condition has to be met. I don't know much about Dokkan, so don't flame me. But let's say it's Gohan, right? Android 16, head gets crushed. If you kill Android 16 and you're using Gohan, which is way too specific of a condition, by the way, I don't hope they do that like this though, then Gohan transforms. Or maybe they should put a list of characters so it's not too specific. Because if it's just Android 16, I'm still using Gohan because I feel like Gohan's the best one to use. If someone dies and it's a list of these certain people, Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, and their ally, whatever, he transforms into a Super Saiyan 2. That would be fire. Or he auto transforms at a certain timer count. So you know, people, I explained this to a couple people and they felt like it didn't make sense, but I feel like it makes perfect sense because we already have a mechanic that actually works on this premise. So let's talk about MUI. MUI, his gauge, UI sign as well, their gauges work on the premise of them only being able to activate once they're gliding. So we talked about earlier when we touched on the evade type gauge. It says while the character is slide moving or standing still, they will consume a certain amount of their unique gauge to activate evade against certain enemy attacks. With that being said, if they're in one of those positions of not sidestepping or in a combo, then the auto transform will activate once a certain amount of timer counts go past, and I feel like that's probably the best way to activate it depending on who you're dealing with. So again, back to Gogeta, it could be Gogeta, 30 timer counts pass, he goes to a Super Saiyan. Another 30 timer counts pass, he becomes a Super Saiyan Blue. That would be neat, in my opinion, but let me know what you guys think about those ones. I put those together because I feel like they're very much similar, but I think that's the best way to close out the video for these that I had in the poll. A lot of people actually voted, as you can see, but I feel like the ideas that I had were actually pretty decent. But yeah, man, that's gonna close out the video. Let me know what you guys thought about these ideas that I came up with. They're not all my unique ideas, but more so about how they would operate. I put a lot of thought into that to deliver this video for you guys. And of course, let me know if you have any other ideas for a new mechanic that could come for the Legends Festival 2022, because I feel like a new mechanic is what the game needs every single festival. We literally had the tag last year, and I always mention this, the Super Saiyan 4 Goku that dropped 3 years ago. The Super Saiyan 4 Goku that dropped the Super Saiyan Vegeta, they both have Zenkais now. The lock blue card was a big game changer in my opinion, guaranteeing kills, and he was OP back then. So a new mechanic dropping for the festival is something we should expect, and I feel like that's what would bring flavor to the festival, for something we need to remember as, wow, this was fresh. And I feel like a lot of you guys will agree with that opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Press the subscribe button when we're on this grind to 40,000 subscribers. All my social media links going to be on the bottom of the screen. It's the YouTube channel, we've got Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link all in the description below. I stream every day. I just want to put this out there. I stream every day on the channel, so if you catch me live, it's the best place to ask me questions about anything. You can DM me on Discord or Twitter, the most places I would react or reply. Twitter more than anything else, but if you come into the stream, you can get an instant response. I stream every day at 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. GMT, convert that for your time zone, and on the weekends twice. So hey, now you know my stream schedule. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. I appreciate you guys for watching. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.